Good afternoon, dear participants. Respected Professor R.K. Malviya sir, former ISRO scientist and Secretary of APMS, India. It is a proud moment for all of us to hear from Professor R.K. Malviya during the valedictory session of 5 days Atal-sponsored FDP at KLS Gogte Institute of Technology, Belgaum, Karnataka. It is my privilege to introduce today's speaker, Professor R.K. Malviya. Born at Allahabad in 1948, Professor Malviya joined ISRO after his graduation in 1972 and had on many important responsibilities and projects, ground-based and on-board projects of ISRO such as SITE, STEPs, SLV, Apple, Propagation Experiment, IRS, INSAT, MSMR, to name few. Highlight Sir's achievements as a ground segment and onboard projects. Professor Malviya was a member of team which developed feed system station at Delhi. He developed a rotary joint for the above mentioned the feed system which I mentioned for site Earth Station. He was a team member to develop Cassegrain antenna systems. Of course, here I am mentioning few of the ground segment projects. Cassegrain antenna feed for Earth Station, which were utilized in STEP. During the project TRACT, which is Transportable Remote Area Communication Terminal, Professor Malviya was involved in developing a transportable remote antenna system to transmit live cricket match from Lahore in 1977. He developed feed system for emergency communication terminal utilized in STEP as well as INSET projects. Professor Malviya was a part of a team which developed direct-to-home antennas for INSET series of satellites. This was to know how the information was transferred to industry, the system is transferred from industry to commercial. He was a part of a team which developed and commissioned antenna system for telemetry of launch vehicles utilized in early SLV launches. The stations were at Car Nicobar, Mauritius, SHAR, Ahmedabad, and Lucknow. It was a team which developed components such as power dividers, phase shifters for telemetry applications, telemetry antenna applications. He was also a part of team which was responsible for commissioning the antenna system for Master Control Facility, MCF, for INSET series satellites. The concept of short back fire antenna was translated at X-band and airborne antenna systems for side-looking airborne radar, and this system was developed and implemented. To mention on-board system project implemented by Professor Malviya sir, I would like to highlight the work done by his team in developing the feed system for Apple communication system, satellite systems. This was the first Indian communication satellite system which was developed at SAC. He was a project manager for MSMR antenna system, which was on-board ISR satellite. The feed system of this antenna was unique and it was patented during that implementation time. He was a part of team which developed double reflector low cross polarized antenna for INSET series. Sir was also was leading a team from 2004 till his superannuation in 2008, which carried out complete characterization of INSAT, GSAT series antennas, which were on board till 2012. He also studied the footprint of antennas in India. Professor Malviya developed slotted waveguide arrays to be utilized as an antenna for side-looking airborne radar. This antenna was further improved by adding a concept of short backfire. This was successfully used in many aerial flights. Professor Malaviya developed slotted waveguide arrays to be utilized as antenna for synthetic aperture radar. This had many successful was implemented in successful flights. It also acted as forerunner for spaceborne synthetic aperture radar. He was responsible for installation and commissioning of planar near-field facility. It was extended to carry out cylindrical near-field measurement also. A new anechoic chamber working between 1 gigahertz to 40 gigahertz was established to carry out measurement on small antennas and feeds. Professor Malaviya was heading the team. A tapered anechoic chamber was proposed to carry out measurement for low frequency onboard antennas. And Professor Malaviya developed a new methodology of measuring parabolic reflector coordinates utilizing microwaves in planar near field. This is a significant development as it is more accurate method other than the optical methodology utilized. Other than these responsibilities, other areas where Professor Malaviya worked as project management team were few to mention: development of synthetic aperture radar, scatter meter, altimeter, and radiometer, design and development of spaceborne waveguide joint, which was qualified and achieved a very low leakage of microwave energy. Professor Malaviya is member of T&E committee of all onboard antennas for IRS, GSAT, and INSAT series of satellites. During Sir's tenure at ISRO, he has published more than 50 research papers in reputed journals and conferences. Sir also holds few patents in his name. He has been awarded Distinguished Achievement Award by Chairman of ISRO. Apart from this, as a life member of Indian Remote Sensing and Meteorological Society of India, he has worked in his capacity. He is a founder secretary of Antenna Test and Measurement Society of, which is ATMS of India, and he organizes conferences every year, which are well attended by delegates from India and abroad. This year, Sir is organizing 13th International Conference. So 13 international conferences he has successfully organized till today. He's also very enthusiastic in social projects and contribute a lot of time in upliftment of society through Rotary International. He's a past president of Rotary Club of Ahmedabad, Greater, and was adjudged best secretary of my Rotary Club, his Rotary Club in District 3050 in Ahmedabad. He's also Paul Harris Fellow of International Rotary Organization. With this, in fact, I have skipped many projects where Sir was heading the team or he was a member of team. We are really proud, feeling proud to have such an eminent personality from the field of antenna test and measurement who worked with many satellite systems in ISRO as a scientist and who is currently very active secretary of ATMS and involved in engaging conferences, technical talks in the field of antenna test and measurement. With this introduction, I welcome Professor R.K. Malaviya sir for this FDP, and we are very privileged to have you, sir, during one of the technical sessions. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you.
Thank you for such a nice introduction. Bit long. I do not know whether I deserve so many credentials or not. I will just.
In fact, I excuse from my side. I say sorry because I skipped so many very well mentioned projects. So sorry for that, sir.
No, nothing to do. One of the projects I will like to mention here, two things which I feel very proud of it. One was I did the MSMR where I was project manager, and the feed was very complicated. The antenna system is the largest antenna system so far has gone on any Indian satellite so far, and it it could measure the melting of the ice of the our Arctic place, and that has been published and internationally it claimed that the rate of melting of the ice is measured. Okay, the first time in India, the first time in the world, and I give credit to my colleagues, Dr. N.K. Vyas and his team, who utilized the data of that MSMR and developed such a beautiful thing. And another notable thing was I developed the compact range, established the compact range, planar near field facility, and for the satellite-based antennas, which made very accurate things, which I will cover here during my talk. So with this thing, I will like to start my presentation now. Where is it? It should be first. Yes. Okay.
It's visible. We can see your slide.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. So it is coming to full screen.
Yes, sir. Full screen.
Okay, fine. So this is antenna measurement techniques which I am covering today, and I will try to show you. I will go to some historical background first, and from where we started and how the whole thing started, and where are we today and where we are supposed to be tomorrow. I will cover almost everything. First, before that, as I will show the 13th International Conference ATMS will be only on virtual platform this time, 18th and 20th, between 18th and 20th February. The theme is our journey of OTA measurement from 5G to 6G and antennas for industrial, biomedical, and any other applications. And tutorials will be on CATR quiet zone modeling and prediction of radiation pattern errors and millimeter wave antenna measurements. So I will request everybody to join this, and you will have, this time we are going to have many international speakers this time. They have spared their time, and you will get beautiful themes to listen. Apart from this, I have put some RF calculator and discussion forum on my ATMS website, which every engineers should utilize. And if you have got any problem, you can put your problems on your discussion forum. Somebody will answer all this. So for further communication, you are free to write to me at secretary@atmsindia.org or contact me on my mobile anytime, 24 hours. I am ready to give you answers. So with this, I will like to come to my presentation today. First of all, we have been talking of microwave. What is microwave? Why we do that measurements and others. So I will start my presentation. What is microwave? Microwaves are nothing but electromagnetic waves having wavelength between 100 centimeter to 1 centimeter. And these waves are present in nature. Generally, they fall on Earth along with the light waves. They get reflected from other celestial objects also, and they can be generated by magnetron or klystron in the labs. James Clerk Maxwell was the person. He was a professor at Trinity, London, and he put the Faraday's law into the mathematical form. Discovered 4 famous equations that govern the electromagnetism. He predicted the existence of radiation through the equations. E. Hertz, Sir J.C. Bose, Marconi, they all independently validated this discovery. Sir J.C. Bose developed an elegant millimeter wave transmitter, self-recovering detector, wire grid polarizer, dielectric lens and prism, rectangular waveguide, horn antenna. Here you just see, I want to underline this thing. The first antenna was developed in the world was by Sir J.C. Bose and in India. So we should feel proud of it. The first antenna was made in India. And microwave absorber to study the reflection, refraction, absorption, and polarization of millimeter waves and its application to wireless remote control. All these pioneering activities indicate that he was well ahead of his time and prompted us to call him as father of radio science. Please note that in those days there were no VNA, and in those days he was able to make all such things without having all those modern techniques of measurement. I am showing his some equipments. The receiver, which was made by Sir Bose, represented a great advance compared to that of even Hertz. He transmitted waves through the body. What Madam Bhope was telling you, same thing he did in 1896. He transmitted waves through the body of the chairman of the meeting, the then Lieutenant Governor of Bengal, and through the solid wall. So what are the application of the microwaves? They can be used in communication, radar, navigation, remote sensing, electronic warfare, heating, telemetry, health, non-destructive testing of structures, ripening of fruits in orchards, determination of quality of timber in jungle, disaster warning and mapping of ground, floods during monsoon, town planning and construction. Many of them have been covered by Madam Bhope in my earlier lecture. So you just see these type of antennas were used in around 1970 in 17 in during the First World War for your detection of small air. The Wright brothers had already developed aircrafts, and those aircrafts, though they were flying very low, they were used in the war, and they were dropping some bombs and others. So those days, this was the technique was used to detect them, and some of them, इसको बंद करो. As these are, you see, an early radar system in operation at an aerodrome in south of England in 1930. So see, you can see the monopole system. Four horn antennas are there. So the azimuth and elevation errors were generated by this thing. So during 1930s they were done. So the basic method now, all these things, why I told this generated because of the war and other things, you have to prove the system is working. You have to prove that system is working. Okay. So some measurement has to be carried out to prove the system. So the basic method of measuring antenna characteristics were developed before and during the World War II. However, new approaches and measurement technologies continue to emerge, boosted by rapid growth of mobile communication in the last decade. The earlier method of carrying out measurement in discrete frequency mode has been taken over by sweep frequencies. To increase the radio noise in the surrounding areas has forced the measurement to be carried out indoors and in controlled environment. Space exploration has forced the antenna to be measured in zero-G condition. All these has led to the development of new techniques, and digital technologies have guided antenna measurement to be carried out by indirect methods. So I will cover each one by one. So what was the measurement being carried out yesterday? That means from 40 onwards and till 1960, what was the method being used? This is the outdoor far field range were developed in say 40s, where two towers were erected and one antenna was put as a transmitter, and that antenna under test was put to receive it, and the measurement was being carried out, which was hampered by getting reflection from the nearby buildings, forest, and some other objects. So what was the problem here? So the oldest and most often used technique in outdoor field range, the AUT is illuminated by the source antenna at a distance far enough to create a near planar face front across the aperture of AUT. The criteria commonly used in determining the minimum separation distance is R is equal to 2d square by lambda. An outdoor far field range is used to moderate for a long distance. The antenna is usually mounted on high towers to minimize the reflection. Okay, but what happens now? You see, you are taking, even though you are very taking a long distance, but what happens, you are generating an spherical wave front, and at a very long distance, 2d square by lambda also, if you see, you are not cutting this plane wave, you are doing a spherical wave, and a distance which is R here on the center will become R plus delta at some other distance when you are having at a distance of the antenna. You see the blue line is showing the antenna under test, and you just see R plus delta, and delta will have a phase error, and with R is equal to 2d square by lambda, then the value of delta will become 22.5. I will show you in the next slide how it becomes. If you take a triangle and if you calculate R and R dash, it will become 2d square by lambda will be lambda by 16, 22.5 degree. And if you want to reduce further, you have to increase the length. If you go to R is equal to 8d square by lambda, it will become lambda by 64, which is equivalent to 5.662 degrees. You can just see, even if you are increasing 4 times the distance between the two towers, you are reducing only to 5 degrees only. You are not able to eliminate it. And what happens due to this? I'll just show you. You see, if you are measuring an antenna, what happens? It should, your null should go to infinite. Whereas null filling takes place, and you just see, if you are doing only 2d square by lambda, the null filling comes up to less than 30 dB, even 28 dB, and all those things. And if you are having 4d square by lambda, then it is around 36 dB or 37 dB. Apart from this, there is error in the first side lobe itself. Here you can see, you are able to see, notice there is around 2 dB error is there in the measurement of the first side lobe level. So this is what I am trying to show you. These errors are there due to only 22.5 degrees error. Apart from this, there are errors due to reflections, due to wind pressures and other things that are separate, which are not shown here. Okay, so this this is when you are having two towers similar. Then another type, one more thing to complete, I'm trying to show you. Some people started, because erecting two towers was becoming difficult. So at some places they had a small tower cut. They are taking use of ground reflection, and that also can start carrying out the measurement. But this is very frequency sensitive, and you can have only at particular frequency only. It's a very small bandwidth. There you can get a large bandwidth. But this type of things, some people used it for particular frequencies. So what was the disadvantage? You have seen, you require large measurement distance. Ground reflections are there, interference from other objects are there. Suppose a radar is working nearby area, say 5 kilometer or 10 kilometer. As soon as the radar starts, there is interference, and your beam width will get corrupted. You are weather dependence. You cannot do in rainy season. In a very cold season is very difficult. Sometime in a hot season also, in daytime, and you will be difficult. In night you cannot carry out any measurement, and no clean room because dust is there. and gravity is another problem. So gravity we are neglecting most of the time, but some of the antennas, they lose their shape, what you are trying to do. So gravity also works if your height of your height of your towers are increased, then this also pose a great problem. And advantage is real time measurement is going on. Data is not to be transformed through mathematics, and very easy to operate it. So these are the advantage and disadvantage of this method. Now the people were worried how to go to suppose to a control environment or inside a room. So they thought of this thing to going into room, and work was done, and a rectangular chamber was designed. And there also you can see in a room a spherical wavefront is being generated, which will go and strike the side walls, even the floor or the roof, and the reflected rays will come and jumble, and this will not form a it will not form a plane wavefront. Instead of that, something jumbling will come here, which you can see here. Okay, so this problem was solved by applying some this your RF absorbing material, which reduce all this reflection. I will show you another this thing. Here you can see some reflections from these places were reduced. And a very good compromise was made, so that the measurement antenna under measurement was illuminated with less reflection, and the place where the reflection is very, very low, it is called quiet zone. So in that quiet zone, the reflection from other places are reduced or minimized, and only in that particular area, if you are putting the antenna, you can carry out your measurement. So it was size dependent, it was frequency dependent, and you can just see, so the phase center of this antenna has to match the motion of azimuth motion of this positioner. Otherwise you will add another error here. So that's why this has been shown here. Please look into it. So this type of chamber is good enough to work between 1 to 40 gigahertz or 2 to 40 gigahertz. So this is the sample I have showing that how the positional controller is there, and this is the signal generator, which receive signal generator come. Nowadays VNA is being used as a receiver, so it can have a transmitting output also, and it can receiving also, and you can record the pattern here. But what happens below 1 gigahertz? So there below 1 gigahertz, the problem is you can have to go to tapered adequate chamber, where at apex of a trapezium type of method has been made, and you can just see the reflection from the wall are added in the same phase. So you get a test zone here, and at the low frequency, this type of measurement, this type of special tapered chambers are made, and they are used for carrying out the measurement. So in the design of rectangular chamber, the planarity of the direct field is required to be in accordance with the conventional far field criteria of 2d square by lambda, and level of the reflection is required to be below a certain value in quiet zone where AUT is to be placed. Hence, for a chamber, there is a limit for the antenna that to be tested. The chamber with width and height should be in such that the incident angle on the longitudinal surface of the chamber is less than 60 degrees. This leads to the restriction of overall width or height of the chamber should be, width is more than or less than R upon 2.75. To reduce the effect of a specular reflection, absorbers are put all along the walls, roof, and floor, as I shown you the figure. Choice of absorber types, size, and layout is important for the quality of the chamber. At the lower frequencies, below 1 gigahertz, it becomes increasingly difficult to obtain accurate measurements in the rectangular chamber. Therefore, the reflection of the absorber increases and decreasing the frequency. In particular, specular reflection from the longitudinal surface becomes very, very large. So this problem was solved with the construction of first tapered chamber in the year of 60s, and the tapered chamber consists of a funnel or a tapered section into a rectangular test section containing a quiet zone. The funnel length is twice as long as of the test section. As the frequency of operation is increased, it becomes increasingly difficult to place the source antenna near enough to the apex. When this occurs, a high gain source antenna is to be used in order to suppress the reflections. So this was the things which was being done till yesterday, and what is being done today. Very, very interesting things has been done today. I'll just explain. So the anechoic chamber has come to this thing compact. Compact range was invented by Richard Johnson of Georgia Tech University in 1969, and Walter Burnside from Ohio University analyzed and experimented on reflector edge treatment. So these two researchers were combined and a compact range was made. And another approach was done. A dual reflector system was done by Professor Vijay Vakurka from Technical University of Eindhoven. I had a chance of getting him in 2014 in our ATMS as a keynote speaker. So I had a very nice interaction with Professor Vakurka, and he explained to our audience at that time how this compact range he developed. So the compact range is of a single reflector, dual cylindrical reflector, and compensated compact range. These are the three broad type which is as on today. I'll explain one by one. So compact range, first of all, this anechoic chamber was there in a room. Here also there is a room. Now the condition of far field which you are doing in a very, very large range has been brought into a small room. That's why the word compact came. A range having all the quality of a long range has been brought in a small room. That's why it has been compact, and compact range word was used. So the compact range uses one or more reflector designed to collimate the spherical wave and create a plane wave. Please note, there what I was talking was a spherical wave fronts. Here now I am talking to plane wave fronts, which across the aperture of antenna under test, and that is a considerable at a considerable shorter distance. Here, that's why the measurement of antenna is much more accurate than what we were doing in a open test range or any anechoic chamber. Here you can see a cylindrical plane wave front thing is coming out of a reflector. Another figure I'm showing here, which may clearly it clears. A reflector is there, and a small feed is here placed, and antenna under test is at this place. Okay, and please note once again the face center of this antenna is rotated along this rotating axis to give better thing. This is called single reflector compact range. So now I'll come to the principle. What is the collimator? Now many of you people may say, why you are using a reflector? We know in every conic section, any conic section if you take, if it is illuminated by a spherical wavefront, it will give you a planar wavefront. Okay, so that thing we are utilizing here. But some people will say, why we cannot use a lens? Yes, you can use it. You can see here a lens is there, and you can get the same plane wavefront through a lens. But lenses are frequency sensitive, so you cannot get a large bandwidth. So nowadays we are utilizing a compact range starting from 2 gigahertz to 100 gigahertz or even more. So to get such large bandwidth, we cannot use a lens. That's why reflectors are being used, and that too with parabola. Why parabola? You can just see, if I use an offset, a small cut of a parabola, that is called offset reflector, and that offset reflector, when it is fed from outside, it is not coming in the way of your plane wavefront, so avoiding any obstruction in between, and you can just see the plane wavefront is being generated. I'll show you in more figures. Here you will get better idea. You can just see, this is the feed at the focal point of this reflector, and as that the blue side is only seen a cut of a big reflector, and you can see, and the red line is the plane wave front where the antenna under test is kept. And once again, all these absorbers are put in such a way that we are not getting reflected from the walls. The same thing what we did in anechoic chamber, that principle is utilized here, and so nothing is reflected back to here. That's why you get a plane wave front. Now you may ask me a question here. Okay, what happens when it touches the corner? Here some scattering will take place. Because of that, some energy will be getting reflected here, in which will be out of phase, and which will disturb the planarity of this place, this plate wave front. So what we do, there is a treatment being done. The treatment, a special treatment is done at the corners so that the energy is diverted in another direction. They do not come into this place. That is we are trying to minimize this thing. This is a special treatment done in the corners. Moreover, there can be a question, what happens with the energy coming, the white side lobes of this your feed will enter into this place? Yes, this is also there. We try to put some barriers here. So the absorbing material are kept in such a way that all the energy which is coming out of this wide angle lobes, they are absorbed into this, and they are not allowed to interfere here. Okay, so this is all we'll show in the next photographs, and you will appreciate that one. So first I'll come to advantage. The measurement range is a compact, and because it is reduced in area, real estate is less, easy access to equipments. Indoor measurement in a controlled laboratory condition, all weather, day and night, no interference from anywhere, and good security. Nobody can take photograph of your antenna which you are developing inside. Okay, so secrecy of your product is also maintained. Results are obtained in real time. In why I'm talking about this, in my next slides, I will show you indirect method of measuring antennas, which are called near field measurement, where it has to be carried out by calculation little later. So it is not a real time. You will not get the results. You will get after some time. Here, because the distance is very less, so relaxed power requirement compared to that of what we were doing in far field. Okay, so you can say we get a better dynamic range here than what we were getting in open test range. The people were not happy with single small room. They said, no, further can we not reduce the distance and other thing. So people went on researching on this. They found out that if we use 2 reflectors, then the room size can be further reduced. So single offset antenna reflector transforms spherical phase front to planar phase front. There is no freedom to shape in the amplitude. But the dual reflector, we can get both planar phase front and shaped amplitude distribution, larger quiet zone, and reduce importance of edge treatment. Okay, so this is the advantage of 2 reflectors. That means as you have seen Cassegrain type of antenna, where sub reflector and main reflectors are there. So we are having one hyperbola and one parabola, and we get this type of compact range. See, once again, it became dual reflector. Here is two cylinder parabola, which was suggested by Professor Vakurka. And this is a double reflector, hyperbola and parabola combination. It is done by Astrium, Germany. So these are the two concepts. Both are working, and they have got advantage at its one, which I will cover later. You see, this is the concept of dual reflector, two cylindrical parabolas given by Professor Vakurka, which is already there at Eindhoven University. You just see the quiet zone. Here is a reflector, and a spherical real front comes over here, and from this reflector, a planar real front, uniform front is formed here, and a quiet zone you can see here. Advantage here is this, that here the focus is not a point, it is a line. So you can have a number of feet kept, so that you need not to change your feet while you are carrying out the measurement. One feet cannot cover from 1 gigahertz to 100 gigahertz, so you have to have several feet. So several feet can be kept in a line, and you can transmit at the same time. You can carry out. Whereas in the other method, here you are having one subreflector hyperbola. This is the parabola here. You have to change this feed every time to cover the large frequency range. This is the disadvantage here. That is the advantage there. But you are getting almost the same type of results here. So I will some geometrical data. You can just see dimension. One typical dimension I have taken. 5.75 meter by 5.6 meter is subreflector. Main reflector is 7.6 meter by 6.2 meters. Surface accuracy 20 micron. You just see 20 microns. Serration length 1.7 meter. Number of segments 2 and 3. Backup structure is 1.2. And what is the mass? 32,400 kilo and 48,600 kgs. These are the mass of the reflector itself, and these are the base plate on which it is placed. This is another, you can see. So what a heavy things are there. And technical data: frequency range 1.5 to 200 gigahertz. Quiet zone is 5.8 meter by 5.3 meter by 8 meter. This is the large thing. Quiet zone amplitude ripple is plus or minus 0.5 dB. Phase ripple is plus or minus 6 degree. Cross polar level is less than minus 40 dB. And measurement errors: side lobes plus or minus 1 dB at 35 dB. Gain accuracy is plus or minus 0.25 dB. Bore site accuracy 0.014 degree. Scanning capability 10 degree. Scan angle accuracy is 0.0003 degrees. So the measurement errors in compact, the most critical errors compact range are reflector system, including serrations, billboard edge, that what I have talked, the direct leakage from the feed to quiet zone. So this is the photograph of a real-time compact range, the size which I showed you. Here you just see, these are the edge treatment. These are the edge treatments. And this side you say there is a billboard. So the feed is somewhere behind this. When it falls here, this is placed in such a way the energy is reflected between these two reflectors and absorbed in this RF absorbers. Okay, and this tree is erected in between so that no direct leakage reaches here. The quiet zone is somewhere on this nearby. So the antenna under test is kept here on this positioner, and no energy reaches this place. You can just see the two persons are here. What a size here. You can compare what size of room it is. So this is the real-time compact range. This is in the same range. There is a small payload is being tested, which is kept here. This is the way how this is being tested. And what are the results we are getting? This is the inset series of satellite, where it is, you must have seen all antennas having circular beam waves. Now you just see, it's shaped in such a way. It is shaped in such a way that it forms complete this map of India. And this is the direction of the cross pole. All the energy in the cross pole is sent to other places. So India is better than 40 dB cross pole. So in the communication satellite system, the cross pole plays a very great significance. So it will not add to your noise, or you can use a frequency reuse if this type of things are placed. Another example I will show you, a very interesting example, is this. This is one antenna having so many beams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beams I am showing now. There are more number of beams are now being used. I have just taken one example 10 years back. So this I had done. Okay, so this was the measurement carried out in this compact range. So this brings to the end of the measurement of antennas in a compact range. Now I'll go to near field, where the size of room is very, very small. So this is another one. In this technique, the field close to test antenna is probed in amplitude and phase in an anechoic chamber. The probe scans in planar, cylindrical, or spherical region depending upon the types of antenna under test. The field thus probed are transformed into far field using mathematical computation. So it is no real time. You have to carry out a computational computation. So here you can see we are moving the probe into X and Y plane. So it is a planar near field. When you are doing in cylindrical, you can see theta and phi. So you get a cylindrical plane, and here you see is complete spherical. So these are the technique, which is planar, cylindrical, and spherical technique. Some of the techniques have been put combination also depending upon the type of antenna, but these are the basic technique. You can see in a planar near field, AUT remains stationary. Here, one of the greatest advantage is this: suppose you have got a antenna under test is very fragile and you cannot move it, so you can keep it in a stationary, and the energy radiated from antenna is scanned in one plane, typically vertical or horizontal. I am showing here vertical. The similar thing can be done in horizontal plane also. Okay, so this is also quite popular, and the people are doing in that one. This type of range is good for testing high directivity antennas. Okay, here I will try to bring out here the antenna is tested in transmitter mode. Antenna is a reciprocal device which can be tested in receive as well as in transmitting mode. Here in planar near field, generally we do test in transmit mode. Okay, so this is another difference from the compact range, where we are doing in receive mode. Now you just see cylindrical near field range. In cylindrical near field configuration, the energy radiated from the antenna is scanned in a cylinder about the antenna. In this configuration, the AUT is rotated about its axis while the probe scans vertically to capture the cylindrical grid samples. This is spherical. In the spherical near field configuration, the energy radiated from the antenna is scanned in a sphere about the antenna. In this configuration, the AUT is rotated about two axes while the probe remains stationary for the collection of the grids of samples in a complete sphere, thus captures nearly all the energy radiated. Here, probe is stationary. There in both the whatever I talked about planar and cylindrical, where the probes were moving. Here probe is stationary, antenna is moving. So the fragile antennas cannot be tested in this method. But the advantage of this method is that the entire 360 degree you can measure, whereas in planar near field you can do only in plus or minus 70 degrees. That means the antenna which is primarily radiating only in the front side, you can do very accurately. Back lobes and others are not possible. Cylindrical field antennas or fan beam antennas are tested in cylindrical near field, but the antennas where you want to test every bit of energy you want to capture in the back lobe or wide angle lobes, you have to go for cylindrical near field. Now, the people were not happy with this. So the multi-probe, so the probes which were moving, mechanical axis probe, they found there was some error. So to reduce that error, they made, now all these yellow things are probes, significantly reduced. Now all the probes, this electronic switching is made. Instead of mechanical change in the place, it is switching, electronically switching. So significantly reducing the time, generally in order of magnitude, and multiple probes, and it is an electronics and switching system is there. It is very fast, comparable to the far field single cut. Now you just see multi-probe near field system to measure wearable antenna on a human hand. This can be done by this method. This is the latest method which are being used. Now I will show you. There is a 6-axis near field measurement system. 6-axis measurement system. Why it has been developed? So let us say a ship. On ship there are number of antennas, and how to measure each one of them, and how to get the things done, because each one is affecting by mutual coupling another thing. So we can take this type of measurement system there, bend it in every axis you want, and then probe it. So the 6-axis antenna system has been developed for measuring in near field on a ship. And you just see what is the pattern you are getting out of it. Okay. I'm showing you this your car having a radar. Okay. Driverless car, how they are being tested. Now, this is one of the most latest the far field OTA testing solution for 5G devices. You can just see these are plane wave generators. These are all plane wave generators, and antenna is kept in between. I'll show you next slide. Antenna is kept here. One plane wave generator is kept here, and antenna is moved here to get the radiation pattern. And this here a chair has been kept. Why chair has been kept? So suppose a man is sitting and on his hand there is a watch, and the antenna is there on the watch. How to measure that one? So I have taken that example into that, wearable antennas, how they are being tested. So this is the technique which is why wearable antennas are tested. Now the next one, I'll explain you what is plane wave generator based in a compact range. You have seen the parabola and what a size of parabola was required to generate plane wave. Okay, what an accuracy required for that one. The people were thinking what to do, how to reduce. The cost is very, very high, and you have to maintain it, so that because you have used so much of metal and other things, if the temperature difference is very high, it will deteriorate. The surface accuracy will not remain into the same place. So every time you have to control, you have to make the control in whether you are carrying out the measurement or not. The temperature, pressure, everything has to be maintained into the particular room throughout 365 days. So it was costing quite a bit. So the people started thinking what we can do. So they generated a plane wave generator. This is the latest one. In past few years only it has been developed. These are a frequency phased array antennas which are generating plane waves here and kept in this size, and in a small room these are measured. They are frequency sensitive, but you can have different plane wave generators. You one by one you can replace them and carry out the same measurement what you are doing in compact range. I am just showing you the result of on a parabolic compact range over a plane wave generator. You see how beautifully they are overriding each other. That means I'm trying to show you the results remain the same if you are using this type of plane wave generator or you are using the conventional parabolic reflectors. So these are all what we are doing today. And I will take you to some futuristic antenna measurement systems. Now, these are some of the things. The near field system, what I talked, planar rectangular system. Now they are being brought to plane polar or bipolar antenna measurement system. Okay. So why plane polar and bipolar? Plane polar, there what you are saying in plane rectangular chamber and near field system, you have to carry out probing little beyond the antenna radiating surface, both the sides, to get the complete radiation pattern. Here, if you go in this type of technique, you need not to probe beyond the radiating surface. That is in the polar system of this thing. And what we are doing from polar, we are converting the whole data into rectangular again, and we are carrying out the same FFT. So you see, among the geometries used acquiring the near field of microwave antennas, the plane polar geometry is the most recent one. In this technique, the data are acquired in concentric rings cantered around the antenna under test in polar coordinate system. The antenna under test often rotates while the probe travels in linear direction. This acquisition scheme is useful in that it allows for a smaller size anechoic chamber than required in the plane rectangular for given size of antenna. This is because the probe has only to scan past the edge of antenna in one direction, while the antenna rotation provides the rest of the coverage. To calculate far field quantities, the antenna under test, the plane polar data is interpolated into Cartesian grid and processed by FFT. This technique is particularly useful in measuring gravitationally sensitive space antennas. And you just see plane polar facility at JPL, NASA, Jet Propulsion Lab, NASA. Bipolar near field measurement technique. And bipolar near field scanning is similar to plane polar scanning, but slight modification. Like plane polar, AUT rotates axially, providing for data collection on concentric rings. And the probe from bipolar case, however, no longer translates into rectilinear path. The probe is attached at the end of the mechanical arm and placed above or in front of the AUT. This arm sweeps the probe along an arc by rotating about a second axis parallel to AUT rotation axis. As the AUT rotates, near field samples are collected on concentric rings with the measurement samples lying on radial arc. This combination of AUT rotation and arm rotation yields the desired planar coverage. Why we are doing this? We get more number of samples, and we get better results, better far field results in this type of techniques. The name of bipolar has been given to this method due to the two rotation axes. The bipolar data is indirectly used to find the far field, since it must be pre-processed by interpolator. And bipolar facility is at University of California. I'm just showing you this photograph from UCLA, where the slotted waveguide arrays are being tested. And now you see at University of California, tabletop bipolar millimeter wave near field scanner. Tabletop bipolar, this thing. On your table it can come. Just see, 30-inch by 24-inch, 36-inch total, 30-inch in the height, 48-inch the width. So millimeter wave bipolar antenna system at UCLA, University of California. And this is how the measurements are done. It's just a small antennas are being kept here. Just see. it can be on your table. But this is all what was the near field. But once again, I'm coming back to the reflector antenna. The people were not happy with the 2 reflectors. They wanted further to the room should be reduced. So they went on working on this, and they have come out with tri-reflector compact antennas test range. Now there are number of combination in this. Tri-reflector CATRs are used for antenna measurement at very high frequency. 2 configurations are used as tri-reflector: Cassegrain Gregorian configuration or double Gregorian configuration. So you can see Cassegrain Gregorian system. You just see, because we are using one ellipse. Ellipse has got 2 elliptical reflectors are having 2 focus. So you can just see here. And here is 2 Gregorian system, and both are elliptical. So Cassegrain Gregorian configuration gives lower amplitude and phase ripples and up to 30 dB cross polarization. Where the cross polarization you require less accuracy, then you go for Cassegrain Gregorian system. On the other hand, double Gregorian configuration gives up to 40 dB cross pole isolation and higher amplitude and phase ripples at 200 gigahertz. So if you want to have to measurement of better cross polarization 40 dB, then you have to go for double configuration. You can see you have to choice you have to make based on these 2 criteria. So I have come to the last now. Last but not the least, there is no science without measurement, no quality without testing, and no global market without standards. So with this, my presentation for antennas are over. And if you provide me some more time, I can show you some very interesting things, which was already most of the things have been covered by Madam Bhope, but still I will just show you some interesting applications. What is this? This is a fly which can be used for spying. You just see there is an antenna here, antenna design at terahertz. So a spy fly can be used at your table, and it can collect all your data and can transmit it to nearby place. And you will not come to know that. You will be thinking that there is a fly only. This I am trying to show. In France, this is a photograph from France, where this is a satellite body which is having 3 different antennas for communication. There are many antennas here in between for telemetry, telecommand, and other things. But these are the communication antennas which are being tested in a compact range. This is very interesting phenomena. Though I have taken it from Korean this thing, but this is a 6-meter antenna. A 6-meter antenna as it is cannot go, so it has to be folded, and when it goes to space, it has to open up again. It has to form in a parabola. So you can just see so many hinges are there, like in your umbrella. When you open up, you just see how many from back side and front side. So many these things are there. The 6-meter antenna goes up and opens up, and this is a feed system which has been placed here. This is under test here. So when the same thing, when it goes up, you have to carry out so many things. Suppose it does not open up fully, then what will be the errors? If it fully opens, what will be the things? So whether it forms a complete parabola or it does not form the parabola, or what happens? So you have to generate every data you have to generate on the ground itself. So this measurement is very important when you are on the earth. So this type of one antenna was sent by India also in one of the GSAT series. This is a car. You just see driverless car is going to come in near future, and so it will have to have some radars, and all those radar, how they will behave, So this is nothing but it has been parked on an azimuth positioner, and the transmitting antenna is here, and from there with this movement the radiation patterns are being measured. You see, this is another example of a near field measurement. A probe is somewhere here in this. This is a very interesting. Radar cross sections are being measured. You see, this is a pylon, and on this pylon, a replica of aircraft has been put in a compact range. And the RCS are being measured. Similarly, on an open test range, if the real-time aircraft has been put and the RCS are being measured. One such facility is here in Hyderabad also, where the RCS of a tank can be measured. So such a heavy tank is raised in open test range, and the measurements are being carried out. This is the example I am trying to show you, a 6-axis one, which I told you there. The similar thing, how these are being tested. So you can carry out a planar near field or polar, and whatever way you want to do, you can carry out in whatever is possible for a particular type of antenna. Now I'll come very interesting one, what Madam Bope was talking, health. Microwave diathermy is widely used to treat tumors. It is used to detect cancerous cells, as these cells have less oxygen and low pH value. This property helps us to detect it easily. Cancerous cell can be heated selectively, thus treating it properly, and detection of blood clot in the brain. These are the important issue of use of microwaves. Now I'll show you a stroke finder. It's a prototype. Here you see the man is a phantom has been shown. There is a red clot here, and these are all antennas here. These are all antennas, and I will show you. The helmet uses microwave typography to determine whether a stroke is caused by a clot or bleeding. A stroke caused by the clots require a drug to dissolve the clot within 4 to 5 hours. Less than 10% of patients diagnosed by CT or MRI gets anti-clotting drugs on time, as too much time often elapses between a patient's hospital arrival and diagnostic scan. Stroke caused by bleeding require different treatment. An early prototype involved a modified bike helmet and was able to differentiate between the two types of stroke accurately some of the time. The team has since refined the device, building a custom helmet that better adapts to different skulls. The plan is to carry out large-scale study in order to improve the predictive power of the algorithms. Now you just see the antennas or helmet sequentially transmit weak microwave signals into the brain. At the same time, the receiving antennas listen for reflected signals. The brain's different structures and substances affect the microwave scattering and reflections in different ways. The received signals give a complex pattern, which is interpreted with the help of advanced algorithm. Based on these data, the system can diagnose bleeding or a clot. Bleeding is particularly pronounced, but an area with a clot and oxygen deficiency can also be distinguished. So this is what was the stroke finder. And one last slide I will show you. What happens in a phased array, all the time, the mechanical axis does not fall with the radiating electrical axis. So difference between these two axes is called squint angle, and that squint angle has to be clearly defined. As once if you are putting a phased array, in a phased array on a slotted waveguide antenna, squint refers to the angle that the transmission is offset from the normal of the plane of the antenna. In a simple terms, it is the change of the beam direction as a function of operating frequency, polarization, orientation of signal frequency. Okay, so suppose if you have put an antenna on a aircraft, And if you are matched only with the mechanical axis, you will be collecting a data of a different place rather than the intended place. So the squint angle measurement is very, very important, and prediction is very important to carry out the proper remote sensing. So thank you all for your patient hearing. These, I think, my extra things would have definitely given you something more. If you have got any question, I'll be very happy to answer it.
Thank you, Professor Malviya, sir, for informative session. Sir, I can see few questions in the chat box.
Yes.
Is there any standard reflector size for the compact range measurement in indoor and outdoor applications? This is the first question asked by Rangaswamy.
Should I reply this one first?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. Definitely outdoor ranges, we are not using this type of reflectors, but inside, it depends upon what quiet zone you would require. You have to define what type of antenna you are going to measure. Say 2-meter antenna, 3-meter antenna, 4-meter antenna, or you want to measure 5-meter antennas also. So depending upon the size of antenna you want to use, measure, the standard antenna sizes can be defined. So depending upon the quiet zone you require. Sometimes what happens, the antennas are not placed at exactly at the same place where your measurement things are there. So there are techniques to replacing the quiet zone to a nearby place. What I was showing you, the satellite antennas, based on a satellite will be placed on center, but the antennas are away. So the beam is shifted. So beam is shifted by changing the direction, and measurement is done. So the antennas, the reflector antenna size remain the same for the same thing. So the reflector antenna size is depending upon the quiet zone you require. Is it okay?
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So the next question asked by Mr. Balaji, which frequency range mostly used, gigahertz or terahertz in satellite applications?
At present in India, if you can say in India, it is still we are working in gigahertz only. We have not gone to terahertz. But I see, if you see, ask my personal this thing, terahertz is the future.
Okay, thank you, sir. Participants, if you have questions, you can unmute and ask, or you can post in the chat box. Any questions, participants? Most of them are saying really informative session. Thank you. Okay. So there is one question asked by Mr. Baji. In general, currently, which software is easy to design the antennas and fabricate?
No, it depends upon what type of antenna you are trying to design. Whether you are on parabola or you are going to phased arrays. So different type of softwares are there, and there are so many now in market. So you can select upon any one of them. I cannot say because it becomes a marketing of that particular one. So I don't want to enter into that controversy.
Sir is mentioning specifically for the fractal and metamaterial antennas.
No, I have not used because I have not worked on fractal antennas, so I'm not the right man to reply this.
Okay, sir. So thank you so much for, thank you, sir. Thank you for the informative session. Now we have come to the end of 5 days FDP. Thank you, Vaishnavi madam, for joining us. I had requested Raghavan sir also to join. Swapnil sir is also in the meeting. Now we are heading towards the valedictory of this event. 5 days faculty development program sponsored by Atal. So I thank Professor R.K. Malviya sir on behalf of the organizing committee, the organization KLS Gogte Institute of Technology and Atal Academy. I thanks Q sir for a very informative session and sharing your time and guiding us on various aspects of antenna test and measurement. Also giving us insight into the Antenna and Test Measurement Society, ATMS, and its conference. Thank you, sir.
I will like to have all the participants joining as at least as a delegate, and take advantage of the beautiful sessions we are planning.
Yes, sir. Sure. Dear participants, the feedback form after every technical session was shared, but I would like to know from you. You can unmute and give your feedback about various technical sessions we organized during these 5 days FDP. Any participants is willing to express his or her views?
Sir, may I?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, please.
Yeah, first of all, sir, myself, Dr. Vandana Satam. I'm faculty at KJ Somaya College of Engineering, Mumbai, from Somaya Vidyavihar University. My research area is in the field of antennas only. So that was the very first thing attracted me to join this FDP when I have seen the list of the topics. And definitely whatever the expectations I had from this FDP was really fulfilled, because this course was more of the application oriented course, because generally for theoretical part we all are studying the theory from the books or in the our research work, but the main important thing for this FDP was this is a totally application oriented course. We have got opportunity to listen very good speakers, and definitely whatever content we have gone through these days will be helpful for us in future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your kind words. May I request few more participants to express their views? Okay. Swapnil sir?
Yes, sir. The FDP mostly the contents are like well organized, and all the sessions like you manage this introduction part and the like interaction part, taking questions and all that. So that things are also very much nicely organized. We also had like there are like no technical issues that are happening in this FDP, and in between also like we had some festivals like Makar Sankranti, and still we got nice participants. So I am very much thankful for organizer as well as the participants and the speakers also, because like all the sessions uh, are went as expected, the duration of the sessions, and like there are no delays in startings, and like everything was like very nicely and perfectly organized. So thank you all the speakers, thank you organizers, and thank you all the participants to make this session very much successful. So this is only the like remark I
Thank
have.
you, Swapnil sir. Thank you for your kind words, and thank you for all the support that you extended right from the conceptualization of this idea and getting speakers, various topics. I thank Vaishnavi madam for joining us once again. Madam, thank you so much for the informative talk that you presented. You gave information about IEEE Women in Engineering also. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you, sir. It was a pleasure to be a part of this faculty development program. And thank you to Mr. Swapnil, who actually connected me with this program that was happening. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am.
It was a pleasure. Yeah.
May I request all the participants to turn on their videos? We can take one group photo online. Yeah, thank you, everyone. 1 second, I'll just click one snapshot. Yeah, thank you. Now, I now request Malviya sir once again to give your concluding remarks. Before I request Malviya sir, I would like to give this information about the FDP. A brief summary of the entire 5 days program. I thank all the participants because on Atal platform, the registration process was quite lengthy. So all of you correctly followed the steps, and from our end, the issue was in spite of microwave antenna and antenna engineering, the title of this FDP was Green Technology and Sustainability Engineering. That is how it was categorized. So thank you, participants. 150 registrations had happened online, but again, due to possible mismatch between the title, there were more than 110 participants actively attending the sessions every day for all 5 days. We had inauguration on 11th, and the keynote address was delivered by Mr. Puneet Kumar Mishra, Head Satellite Antenna Characterization, Test and Design Section, ISRO Satellite Center, Bengaluru. We had variety of topics presented by Mr. Swapnil, then Dr. Sudipta Chattopadhyay of Mizoram University, Dr. Anupama Marwa of SLIET Punjab. Mr. Ravi Kumar gave insight on all the basics of antennas. Then we had a technical talk by Muthuraman Ramaswamy on microwave applications in food processing. We had 5G antennas talk by Ms. Dr. Maruti Tamrakar from Intel. Dr. S. Raghavan, I think Dr. S. Raghavan could not attend this meeting, valedictory meeting now. I had invited him, maybe because of busy schedule. He was very actively attending the sessions, as well as presented a technical talk on microwave integrated circuit components design fundamentals. Mr. Bhaskar from Samir Mumbai presented a talk on microwave integrated on insight into therapy and diagnostic applications of EM fields, MRI, medical linac, and more. Then Swapnil again presented a talk on Tarang. Dr. Rajeshri explained RF signal processing tools and techniques. I myself explained the applications of machine learning into electromagnetics. And then today, Vaishnavi madam presented a talk on microwave sensors. And finally, in the valedictory, the session was explained on antenna test and measurements used by Professor Malviya sir. So this was overall all the sessions that were organized during these 5 days. I once again thank the Atal Academy for sponsoring this FDP function. And I thank our management, Karnataka Law Society, Belgaum, Karnataka, our principal, Dr. Jayant Kittur, head of the department, Dr. Taraf. And all the speakers, all the participants, I once again thank everyone. Now I request Malviya sir, you have concluding remarks, and you can also, you already explained about ATMS. You can brief about the same.
Thank you, Professor Torse. You have already explained the thing, but I feel such programs should be done quite often, and the people should be brought in. How not only you should study theoretically, how practical uses can be done, and how it can be converted into the product. That the thing should be brought into the picture. I was very happy when Professor Bhope told that some of the PhD students started their companies here. I would like to mention here especially one, Swapnil is already here. He has started a company with completing his PhDs. So such people should be encouraged, and they can lead the whole thing. And such, I think more and more Swapnil will come out of this thing, out of such our efforts. So more microwave is going to be the future, and we are knowing all these things, so we should convert into the product, and we should not only believe that only some people in Europe or America will do and we will copy it. No, we should develop our own things, and I'm very sure about it, that I have been telling to Swapnil many times, that we have to develop our own things, and we have to do something which which should be our own. Okay. Some people ask me which software. Why you are going to depend the software which has been developed by somebody else in Europe in a different condition? You should you develop your own software to develop your antenna, carry out your antenna measurement in your own environment, and the things can be done. Can be done. There is nothing wrong in that. You can always do it, and you can always come back to us. We are always ready to help you and guide you what to do and what not to do. Okay. So but you have to have a confidence in yourself that we can do in India, and we should do in India. We should do in India. There is nothing like that. It can be used in medical. I have shown you some results. Vaishnavi also showed you some of the applications. I am very sure in civil engineering should take this microwave non-destructive testing in a big way. So the cracks and other things can be found out without destruction. It can be used in agriculture. It can be used in food processing. So why not we should come out with some of the more application, and if we meet together more number of times, and we exchange our this efforts. So if 5 days is very long period, so we can have at least 2 days, 3 days, at least twice, thrice in a year. Then we can produce some more people. We can excite some more people to come out and form their own startups. That is what I feel. I am very happy, thankful to your management to invite me to address you all, and it was a great privilege for me to meet you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being part of this wonderful FDP. Thank you. Good day.